Welcome back to Up North at 4. I'm joined by Amanda and, of course, the ever-famous Buffy Miller-Jackson joining us as well. Amanda, you're with the Northwoods Wildlife Center, and you were telling us before, off camera, it's been a busy year for you folks so far, right? What have you guys been seeing up at the center for you so far?
Yeah, so it's been a pretty big season. We've kind of gone through the migration season where we're getting the injured and ill birds coming out of migration. We also have started to admit some baby birds.
Okay,
We kind of had an odd spring because of how late the snow stayed.
Yes.
And then when it's straight into warm weather, and then we've kind of gone back down again. So all the animals are a little confused.
They don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on
Yeah,
either,
so we had squirrels a little bit earlier than we normally see them. So we definitely have had our big push for baby squirrels already. We're going into baby bird season, and we're getting our baby fawns in now.
Okay.
So we're getting pretty busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you brought up the birds before.
Yes.
And hummingbirds, which for starters are beautiful birds to look at. I know a lot of people love bird watching, especially in this area.
Right.
But hummingbird feeders.
Yes.
This is a thing, and people love having them in their yard, and that's where, Buffy, you come in here, right?
I do. I come in with the recipe to make the hummingbird nectar. And it's, first and foremost, it's very important that you just use sugar.
Okay.
You might think, oh, honey is natural, let's use honey. No, honey contains bacteria that are just fine in honey, but when you mix them and they sit in the sun, they multiply and grow.
Right.
And when you take a little teeny tiny hummingbird and you blast them with that bacteria, it's more than their little teeny tiny bodies can take.
Poor things.
Yeah, so you're gonna wanna use sugar, not agave, not honey, not artificial sweeteners, because again, those are 0 calorie, and hummingbirds need many calories to keep those little bodies going. And the ratio you're going to want to remember is 4 to 1. So that's 4 cups of water to 1 cup of sugar. And say if your feeder doesn't hold that large amount, just keep it in a covered jar in your fridge. Treat it like any juice or milk or any perishable, that it will have about a 7-day shelf life. And all you're gonna wanna do is, I just have 1 cup of the sugar in this heat-proof measuring cup, and I have 2 cups of hot, and it doesn't have to be boiling, but hot.
Just hot enough that it'll dissolve the sugar.
Correct. Basically, what you're thinking you're going to do here is you're making simple syrup. You're making cocktail syrup. So basically, what we're doing is we're making a hummingbird old-fashioned.
I love
it. Skip the bitters. Okay.
Do hummingbirds like brandy, or are they more of a whiskey?
I think they're kind of more of a whiskey, maybe like a bourbon.
I'll have to ask
kind of thing. Or, being that they do go south of the border in the winter,
you're thinking
maybe
a
tequila.
There we go.
There you go. And you see how quickly the sugar dissolves. And this happens to be unbleached cane sugar, so that's why the syrup has a little bit of an amber tinge to it.
Caramely type of color to
but that's not a big deal. It just means that the sugar is just a little less processed. And then in here I have 2 cups of cooler water. So we're just gonna slowly add this in and mix. So you have to remember that in the ratio, that little colon that symbolizes the ratio, think of that as a plus sign. So you're going to do 4 cups of water plus 1 cup of sugar. And now this is... It's been a while
since I took math class, so I needed that reminder.
Now this is all ready to go. That's
that simple.
Cool enough,
Wow.
So then you can use this to fill your very clean feeder. And it's super important that every time you fill your feeder, take the 2 minutes to clean it, because...
Unfortunately, when these bird feeders sit out in the heat, which we have around here, it can be anywhere from 50 degrees to 90 degrees. That's when the bacteria are growing. That's when the fungals are growing in that nectar. And if we're changing the nectar, but we're not cleaning the feeder, you're not removing.
You're
those.
almost like just feeding the bacteria that's in there.
Yes, giving them more food instead.
Correct.
So then the bird consumes that and gets ill.
And so you have some tips for the people at home who maybe want to make their own hummingbird food. And I'm going to ask you about kind of keeping that clean, but we're going to take a quick break, so stick with us. We'll be right back on Up North at 4. Welcome back to Up North at 4, joined by Amanda and Buffy. Of course, we just got done making hummingbird food that you can then put into your hummingbird feeders. But a big thing, and I'll be honest, I didn't even realize this, is that it's important to stay up to date on changing out your hummingbird feeder, keeping it clean, because when those bacteria, when that starts to grow, especially in the summer, can have really bad effects on the birds, right?
Yes.
I want to ask you, how often have you had birds come in where, people had the best intentions in mind, they wanted to feed the hummingbirds, but then they realized, I was making them sick. Do you see that often?
I do.
Yeah.
We've admitted approximately 5 hummingbirds already this season. At least 2 of them, we believe, were due to dirty feeders, unfortunately.
And so how often would you recommend to stay up to date and changing out the liquid within the feeder?
Yeah, I would say ideally every day would be ideally, but I'd say at least every other day, thinking about if it's sitting out in the sun versus sitting in the shade as well. Those hot nectars are going to brew those bacteria and fungals quicker.
Okay. And so then a big thing too, when you're swapping out the liquid, clean the feeder itself. Don't just dump it out, dump the new stuff in, right? Is there a good mix, a good piece of advice for people who are wanting to stay up to date on that?
The best thing you can do is use nature's solvent.
Okay.
Just water.
Really?
That's all you need, just
no
water.
Soap, no bleach, nothing.
And you can use bleach, but you want to do a week, just 10% bleach solution. And you let it sit in there for a few minutes for it to do its job. But then you have to rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it. Yeah. And I like to always emphasize, too, that you want to be able to get into the bottom of the feeder because ants can climb in there, other things, and they're decomposing, which adds like a whole nother aspect of layer of crud. Yeah. But it's just water. And another thing that I do for the bottoms is I just have a dedicated hummingbird sponge that I keep set off that I just use water. So it doesn't get used for dishes or something. So you don't have to worry about any residue. Give it a good wipe. And then you're good to go.
Yeah. And so I would have figured cleaning mixtures, solution, but no, simply just water.
Yep, just water is best, or if they're particularly funky. And you'll be able to feel, like if you reach inside here,
feel that
you can feel there's like that
grimy
like extra
slime.
Film. And you don't, when it's clean, you don't want to feel that film.
Okay. So obviously keeping your feeders clean, switching out the liquid about once a day.
Yep.
That's kind of the top, easiest ways really to kind of make sure the hummingbirds are staying happy, healthy, and of course, well fed, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's that simple. But I know people out there are thinking, well, I want to have other animals come to my yard and be safe and be healthy. We're going to cover that, though.
Yes.
I got some questions for you. That's coming up next, though, and Up North at 4, so stick with us. Welcome back to Up North at 4. I'm still hanging out with Amanda with the Northwoods Wildlife Center. And Amanda, you were telling me before, it's been a busy year so far for you folks, right?
It has.
Yeah. And baby season is upon us officially, and baby season kind of lasts for most of the summer, right?
It does. We'll be admitting babies probably through August because we'll have some baby birds that are later in the season even. So baby season's just beginning.
So what have you guys seen so far besides birds? Like any rabbits, squirrels, fawns? What have you guys been seeing?
Yeah, we have eastern cottontails. We have at least 3 species of squirrels. We've had chipmunks in. Again, we've had the baby birds. We've also had a young raven already.
Really?
Yeah, and then but we've mostly right now the big thing we're admitting is fawns.
Okay. So I am curious because I know there's people at home who are wondering the same thing. They're thinking, okay, what can I do to help these certain animals stay safe throughout baby season, especially the young ones who maybe don't know as well as they should. But what are just some general tips you could give to the people at home, things to have in their backyard, just to make sure these animals are staying safe?
Yeah, the biggest thing is when you notice young animals in your backyard, be conscious that about your pets. We're getting a lot of dog attack fawns. Taking a look for to see if anybody's home in your backyard that may have not been there yesterday. And oftentimes too, a lot of the small rodents and the baby birds are being picked up by cats. So just being conscious about the impact that your pets may have on these animals here. We kind of live in their home as well. They don't see property lines like we do, so they just kind of see everything as their house.
As one, right.
So just kind of being conscious about that. If you can keep your cats inside, that's always best. And then when you have your dogs out, just keep an eye out for what may be entering your yard.
Definitely. And I would imagine too as well, a lot of people, they see an animal who's maybe injured, laying down, or it seems like it's abandoned, and they think, I need to go help that poor thing. But that's not always the best solution, right? What advice would you give?
You know, if you see a baby animal and you're concerned, my first suggestion is give us a call. We can talk you through that. What is natural? Does the animal need help? We have a line that you can send pictures to and videos, so we can help see what you're seeing and talk you through that. So we always say, when in doubt, give us a call. We can help you out. And we, you know, preferably we'd like to get the call before you pick it up. And then we don't feed it, don't give it water or anything prior to bringing it in or anything like that, because especially if it does need help and it's been without food or water for a while, actually putting that into their system can actually have a negative effect to them. We have to make sure we're putting the right things in at the right time. So, you know, intentions are to help the animal, but occasionally it does have a negative effect. So we ask that you leave that to the experts.
I was going to say, let the experts handle that one. That's the biggest piece of advice. And of course, a lot of people have home gardens, plants in their backyard, right? And there's maybe certain ones that, you know, you'll see the deer or the rabbits come through and take a little nibble off some things, but there's some plants that they really shouldn't be eating or can't be eating. What are maybe some things to avoid just having in your yard?
Yeah, you know, a lot of the poisonous ones, and luckily that the wildlife are pretty smart and they don't eat a lot of those, or the ones that are unattractive. So if you're having problems with deer eating your flowers, there's flowers like marigolds. They don't like them. Yeah, they naturally don't like them. They can actually be a version of a natural insecticide and stuff like that. So they're just prone not to. So if you scatter some of those less delicious plants and with your other ones, sometimes it'll get them to go away. There are some more natural ways to try to repel the mosquitoes. Citronella is a big one, and as you can see, a citronella plant here that does market donated to us. That can be one way. Planting those around areas where you commonly hang out in your backyard will kind of get them to go away.
And so it's as simple as literally just planting it, setting it, and kind of forgetting it, right?
Yeah, you know, just take care of it like you would the rest of your plants in your yard. You know, it's not going to be a perfect fix, but it will help reduce the mosquitoes. You know, trying to, you know, I heard lemongrass. I haven't tried it myself, but that can also have a effect on mosquitoes and stuff like that. So just be conscious about what you're spraying on, not only on yourself, but also what you're putting in the environment, and noticing it's not just your home, unfortunately. The deer are walking through, the birds are eating insects that are getting sprayed with this poison, and you see the cumulative effect of that happen.
And they don't care whose yard is what. It's all just land to them, right?
Exactly.
So we appreciate all the work you guys are doing at the Wildlife Center. And I know people at home, I'm sure they want to stay up to date or just have some general questions. They can just contact you guys if they want any advice on plants to maybe put in their yard, right?
You know, if you have questions about wildlife, we're always a resource. If we don't know the answer, we can usually try to point you to who does. So, absolutely.
Well, we wish you the best of luck as we go through baby season here through the rest of the summer. Amanda, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. We're going to take a break. We'll be back on North at 4.